Meghan encouraged the vengeance. Meghan encouraged the anger and the hatred and seeing enemies and paranoia.
Meghan just got betrayed on live TV. What was supposed to be a moment of support for her turned into chaos when Tom Bower's words triggered an explosive reaction that people can't seem to stop talking about. Who is the woman who defended Meghan so fiercely? And what exactly did Tom say that shocked everyone? Join us as we reveal whose explosive reaction was caught on tape when Tom Bower betrayed Meghan on live TV. More than just a defensive host. On a Monday morning in late March 2026, Good Morning Britain hosted Tom Bower, the controversial royal biographer whose book Betrayal promised fresh attacks on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Tom sat across from Susanna Reid, a journalist with 20 years of breakfast television experience. Within minutes, the interview became the most heated exchange of the year, not because of what Tom said, but because of who defended Meghan Markle and why. Tom's argument was simple and brutal. Meghan, he claimed, had huge ambition and was resilient, but under that lay a lack of talent. He specified she wasn't a great actress, nor a great television performer.
She was not treated in a racially offensive way whatsoever. Everyone tried very, very hard to make her feel at home.
However, Susanna did not let it pass. All you could say, like anybody, she's entitled to do her best, isn't she? She interrupted. When Tom saw that that point wasn't going anywhere, he decided to talk about her cooking. He called her food mid, but Susanna wasn't having it. Susanna revealed she had made Meghan's vegetable spaghetti recipe herself and found it delicious. As soon as the co-host felt the tension in the air, he made a joke about flour sprinkles. A joke that Susanna didn't take lightly. She shut him down immediately, calling it an extraordinary thing to be arguing about. By the time the clip made it to the internet, Meghan lovers were so excited that Susanna had defended Meghan so strongly, but everyone missed the more interesting bit. Susanna's sudden loyalty was a contradiction that had played out on live television multiple times. The first time was in 2021, when Piers Morgan, then Susanna's co-host, labeled her the British Meghan Markle. Morgan, a relentless critic of the Duchess, used the comparison as an insult, implying Susanna was similarly opportunistic and thin-skinned. Though Susanna laughed it off on air, the label attached itself to her. For years afterwards, tabloids ran side-by-side photos of Susanna and Meghan, noting the similar dark hair and jawline. Despite the fact that this comparison made Susanna relate more to Meghan, it didn't translate into consistent defense. In April 2025, Meghan launched As Ever, a lifestyle brand that included an 11-pound jar of raspberry jam.
And where can I share that with you, and how that continues to grow as ever. So exploring all the options of what it could look like.
Susanna held the jar up on Good Morning Britain and asked with a perfectly timed smirk, "How much is that per spread?" The segment was brief, but the damage was done. Meghan's supporters flooded social media with anger, but Susanna did not apologize. To her, she was just doing her job. So why did she defend Meghan so aggressively against Tom? While Susanna's jab targeted an overpriced item that anyone could criticize, Tom was dismissing a woman's whole career, a woman whom Susanna could relate to. But apart from Susanna and Meghan's relationship, there is some context to the bad blood Susanna has with Tom. 4 years ago, Tom had appeared on Good Morning Britain to promote his earlier book, Revenge, a critical biography of Meghan, and Susanna had pressed him so hard on his sourcing that he had to admit some of his claims actually came from a friend of a friend. After the show, Tom called Susanna aggressive, and Susanna, well, she called his book Gossip Dressed as Journalism. But what was Tom talking about when he said Meghan was not a great television performer? The symptom of a bigger problem. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle signed a 5-year, $100 million exclusive deal with Netflix in 2010, the world heard a clear message that the most famous couple on Earth was about to conquer Hollywood on their own terms. 6 years later, and that message was dead. Source told The Sun that Netflix felt they had got all they can from the couple and didn't want to renew the contract. In simple words, Meghan's lifestyle show, With Love, Meghan, had failed. It wasn't the kind of failure that had happened quietly. It was a public humiliation. As soon as the first season debuted, critics already started to describe it as fakery. Even when the second season was released, it didn't look like a new commission at all. It looked like leftover footage from the same shoot that had been repackaged to save face. but it was actually the numbers that told the real story. The series failed to break into Netflix's top 300 programs for the first half of 2025, pulling in a meager 5.3 million views. The first episode initially cracked the top 10 before plummeting to a catastrophic 383rd place. As the viewership tanked, the behind-the-scenes revelations became even more damaging than the ratings. In March 2025, the Daily Mail exposed a shocking editing failure. Producers had to dub Meghan's voice asking her guests questions because, during filming, she was allegedly too busy talking about herself to inquire about their lives. In one episode with actress Mindy Kaling, Meghan spent nearly the entire runtime discussing her own science teacher and personal anecdotes, while Kaling sat silent. It was only in the final 15 minutes that Kaling shared a story about her childhood, prompted not by Meghan but by a clearly dubbed voiceover added in post-production. This brings us back to Tom Bower's explosive appearance on Good Morning Britain. Tom did not pull his punch. Meghan has a huge ambition. She is a very resilient, attractive woman to look at, he told Susanna Reid, but actually, there is a lack of talent. He listed the evidence. She wasn't a great actress. She wasn't a great television performer. She was horrific at dishing the dirt, and now she's reached the end of the road. To Tom, the Netflix show was, in fact, the end of her career. The fury of the exchange was not just about Meghan's perceived abilities. It was about the sheer scale of the unfulfilled promise. For 5 years, Harry and Meghan had positioned themselves as visionary content creators. Instead, they delivered one genuine hit, the 2022 documentary Harry and Meghan, which itself was widely derided as a royal pity party and a hypocritical attention grab. The Hollywood Reporter dismissed it as offering too little that feels fresh enough to merit its luxurious 6-episode sprawl. Netflix may have gotten a temporary boost from the couple's royal dirt, but once the drama was exhausted, there was nothing to offer. Worse still, the couple's attempt to pivot Meghan into a lifestyle guru backfired spectacularly. Every episode of With Love, Meghan seemed designed to highlight the very inauthenticity that plagued her public image. She was filmed cooking in a home that wasn't hers, surrounded by friends who felt like paid actors, scattering edible flowers on everything. When Martha Stewart, the actual queen of lifestyle media, was asked about Meghan's foray, she didn't even bother to hide her contempt, noting a total lack of genuine domestic skill. She would be fine if there weren't the sort of destruction that had come in the past 5 years. If it all amounts to this bland cooking show, and her prancing through a Montecito orchard in linens? As Tom sat opposite Susanna Reid, he wasn't just reviewing a TV show. He was narrating the end of an era. Their behavior, lack of original talent, and suffocating self-importance, he later told The Express, have made it even more important for them to return to Britain. That option, he believed, will be denied to them. Now, why would Tom strongly believe that Harry and Meghan would be denied access to Britain? The genesis of the royal rift. The fact that millions nodded along when Tom called Meghan untalented is not supposed to be normal, but the public has craved Meghan's downfall for many years, and it all started inside Buckingham Palace. The couple met in 2016, married in 2018, and by early 2020, they were gone. The speed of the collapse stunned even seasoned royal watchers. What went wrong? The official story was that the institution failed them, that racism, lack of support, and a hostile tabloid press drove them out. As for Tom and other royal biographers, they told the world that Meghan arrived with a plan, found the constraints unbearable, and executed a calculated exit. Then, in March 2021, the Times of London published a bombshell report. Former royal aides had accused Meghan of humiliating staff members, reducing 2 personal assistants to tears, and driving out 1 private secretary.
That all the employers were scumbags and crooks and cheating their employees out of their wages at Christmas. The employers were all Jewish.
The allegations included claims that Meghan bullied a female aide so severely that the woman feared she would have a breakdown. The palace launched an internal investigation, one that has never been fully released to the public. The Sussexes denied the claims through a spokesperson, calling them a calculated smear campaign. But the investigation file remains sealed, and the absence of a conclusive clearing of Meghan's name has allowed the allegations to fester for 5 years. Tom's book, Betrayal, returns to this wound. He claims that Meghan systematically undermined staff who questioned her judgment and that Prince Harry stood by silently as his wife clashed with courtiers. Whether true or exaggerated, the accusations fit a pattern. Meghan was a demanding, perfectionist figure who did not suffer what she saw as incompetence. In Hollywood, that might be called being a boss. In the palace, where deference is the currency, it was called bullying. Before the famous Megxit summit at Sandringham in January 2020, Harry and Meghan launched a website, sussexroyal.com, without consulting the palace. The site outlined their vision for a progressive new role, including plans to become financially independent while still using the royal brand. The Queen was reportedly blindsided. Within days, the palace announced that the couple would no longer use their HRH titles, would repay the £2.4 million spent on renovating Frogmore Cottage, and would step back from all official duties. Harry and Meghan wanted a half-in, half-out arrangement, and to that, the Queen said, "No. You cannot be a royal when it suits you and a celebrity when it suits you," one courtier later told the Sunday Times. The couple lost their patronages, including Harry's beloved military roles, and were stripped of their Royal Highness status in practice, if not in law. But it was the Oprah interview that burned the bridge. Oprah Winfrey was asking gentle questions while Harry and Meghan dropped grenades. The interview contained several explosive claims that an unnamed royal had asked how dark Archie's skin might be before he was born.
Concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
That Meghan had experienced thoughts of self-harm and was denied help by palace aides. That the institution had refused to give Archie a title or security. The palace's response was a 61-word statement that said, in effect, recollections may vary. That terse dismissal infuriated the Sussexes and delighted their critics. For millions of viewers, the Oprah interview was the moment they decided which side they were on. And then came the memoir. In January 2023, Harry published Spare, a 416-page memoir that detailed his frostbitten member, his killing of 25 Taliban fighters, his brother William physically attacking him during an argument about Meghan, and his father Charles making cruel jokes about his mother's death. The book sold 1.4 million copies on its first day. It also destroyed any remaining possibility of reconciliation. William reportedly has not spoken to Harry since the book's release. Charles, who was diagnosed with cancer in 2024, has exchanged only formal, stilted letters. But beyond the interviews and memoir, how has the Sussexes' lives been since then? Life after leaving. Leaving the palace was supposed to be the beginning of a new empire. Instead, it became a masterclass in how to turn global sympathy into widespread skepticism. Between 2020 and 2026, Harry and Meghan launched, rebranded, and buried more commercial ventures than most celebrities attempt in a lifetime. Almost every single one backfired. The couple unveiled Archewell in April 2020, named after their son Archie, and the Greek word for source of action. The website launched with soaring language about unleashing the power of compassion and building a better digital world. For the next 4 years, Archewell produced remarkably little. Its flagship initiative, a partnership with Procter & Gamble to build compassion communities, never really went beyond a few press releases. Its COVID-19 relief efforts were overshadowed by far larger, more efficient foundations. By 2024, watchdog groups noted that Archewell's tax filings showed millions spent on security and private travel, but only a fraction on direct charitable grants. The most damaging exposé came from Newsweek in 2025, which revealed that Archewell had missed multiple filing deadlines and had been warned by California regulators about lapsed registration. The couple's spokesperson blamed administrative errors, but for critics like Tom Bauer, it was evidence of a deeper flaw. They want the prestige of a foundation without the boring work of running one. In December 2020, Harry and Meghan signed a multi-year deal with Spotify worth an estimated $20 million. Their production company, Archewell Audio, promised music and programming that uplifts and entertains. Over the next 2 years, the couple delivered exactly one full series, Archetypes, hosted by Meghan, which featured conversations with Serena Williams, Mariah Carey, and other famous women about stereotypes. The show won a People's Choice Award and a Podcasting Award. It also lost money. Spotify executives were reportedly furious that Harry, who was contractually obligated to appear on the platform, never produced more than a single holiday special. In June 2023, Spotify and Archwell Audio mutually agreed to part ways. But the real story emerged days later when Bill Simmons, Spotify's head of podcast innovation and a close company insider, went on his own show and called the couple Fing grifters. The word ricocheted around the internet. Meghan's team issued a tight-lipped statement about being proud of the series. No one believed them. The deal that was supposed to prove their audio prowess instead proved that even Silicon Valley's deepest pockets could not turn celebrity into sustainable content. How every PR move made things worse is the most fascinating and tragic part of this whole story. Nearly every time Harry and Meghan tried to fix their public image, they made it worse. The Oprah interview was supposed to win sympathy. It did, for a week. Then the backlash began, fueled by palace leaks and Piers Morgan's daily monologues. Same happened with the Netflix documentary that was supposed to tell their side. By 2025, focus groups conducted by a major PR firm found that the words most associated with the Sussexes were exhausting, contradictory, and victims. The same report noted that their attempts to project joy, Meghan's jam launch, Harry's polo documentary, were met with near-universal eye-rolling. They had become, in the words of one commentator, the couple who cried wolf while selling jam. But while most coverage focuses on Meghan, Harry has been equally responsible. His memoir damaged his relationship with his father and brother beyond repair, exactly the opposite of what he claimed to want. His public statements about protecting his family became harder to reconcile with his decision to air family secrets for profit, and his insistence on taxpayer-funded UK security made him appear entitled, even as he preached about independence. Tom, in his Good Morning Britain appearance, did not let Harry off the hook. He was brainwashed, Tom said. That is a controversial claim, but the underlying observation is harder to dismiss. The Harry who once laughed with military veterans and charmed schoolchildren has been replaced by a grim-faced man who seems to enjoy nothing except grievance. According to multiple reports, the couple's net worth peaked around 2022, buoyed by the Spotify and Netflix advances. Since then, they have lost both deals, seen speaking engagement fees drop, and faced mounting legal bills. Their Montecito estate, purchased for $14.7 million, carries a hefty mortgage. The Daily Mail estimated in early 2026 that their annual security costs alone exceed $3 million. Without the streaming deals, the math becomes impossible, especially with kids now added to their mix. But even their kids have faced their own brunt of internet frenzy. What did the public say about the Sussex children even before their birth? The weird baby bump. The first whispers emerged in 2019, during Meghan's pregnancy with Archie. Unlike Kate Middleton, who appeared shortly after birth on hospital steps with perfect hair and a newborn, Meghan and Harry chose a private birth and introduced Archie to the world 2 days later at Windsor Castle. For most observers, this was a normal preference for privacy. For a small but vocal corner of the internet, it was proof of deception. Commentators on YouTube and Twitter, using the hashtag #Babygate, began analyzing every photograph of Meghan's baby bump. They claimed the bump changed shape, size, and position too rapidly. They pointed to a photograph of Meghan holding a coat in front of her stomach as evidence that she was hiding the lack of a bump. They scrutinized the birth certificate, which listed a Los Angeles-based surrogacy-friendly doctor as the certifying physician. The theory got worse in 2021 when Meghan announced her second pregnancy. This time, the deniers had a new angle. They circulated a video of Meghan rubbing her belly during an interview, claiming the belly folded unnaturally and therefore must have been a prosthetic. They contrasted photos of Meghan's bump in different outfits, arguing that inconsistencies in size proved a padding device. A particularly popular meme showed Meghan curtsying to the Queen in 2018 with a side-by-side comparison to a later pregnancy photo. The deniers claimed the later bump was clearly a pillow. These claims have been repeatedly debunked. Medical experts note that bumps change shape depending on clothing, posture, and the baby's position. Photographic analysis is notoriously unreliable, and the idea that a woman would strap on a prosthetic belly for months while enduring the physical and emotional toll of surrogacy arrangements strains credulity. Once you believe she faked her pregnancies, every other accusation bullying, betrayal, and attention-seeking becomes easier to accept. The pregnancy conspiracies might have remained on obscure internet forums if not for Lady Colin Campbell, a British author and YouTuber with a significant following. Lady C, as she is known, has published several books about the royal family and has used her channel to promote the surrogacy claim as fact. In a 2023 video viewed over 500,000 times, she declared that there is no evidence Meghan Markle has ever been pregnant and that Archie and Lilibet are not biologically her children. She offered no proof. She did not need to. Her audience already believed. Lady C's influence has been heightened by other right-leaning commentators, including some who claim to have sources inside the palace. None has ever produced a named source or documentary evidence. But in the attention economy, truth is less valuable than outrage. A YouTuber who claims Meghan faked her pregnancies will generate more clicks than a journalist who debunks the claim. Meghan has not ignored the conspiracies. In 2022, her legal team sent cease and desist letters to several YouTubers and Twitter accounts demanding the removal of surrogacy claims. One recipient, a British blogger named Sarah Vine, refused and was sued for harassment. The case was settled out of court, with Vine agreeing to delete the posts and issue an apology. But the lawsuit had a chilling effect for about 6 months. Then the theories returned, harder than before. The problem is structural. You cannot sue thousands of anonymous accounts. You cannot debunk a claim that mutates faster than fact-checkers can track it. And every time Meghan acknowledges the conspiracy by sending a legal threat or issuing a statement, she validates it in the eyes of believers. Why would she be so upset if it wasn't true? They ask. The logic is circular. It is also impossible to break. The conspiracies are not harmless. Meghan has spoken openly about suicidal thoughts during her first pregnancy. Archie and Lilibet, now school-aged, will eventually encounter these theories online. No child should have to read that their own birth was a hoax. But how do these kids react when they find out why they can't come home? The security crisis. When Harry and Meghan fled to California in March 2020, they issued a statement promising to work to become financially independent. Within months, Harry's lawyers were filing legal challenges demanding that the British government continue to pay for his police protection, not private security. Nobody hired bodyguards with his Netflix millions. Specifically, he wanted armed officers from the Metropolitan Police, the same officers who protect the Queen and the working royals. The Home Office insisted that since he had left his office, then he should lose the perks too. And when, you lose the perks.
That my family have been briefing the press solidly for well over a decade.
Harry's counter-argument was that he didn't quit being a prince. He was born one, and you can't resign from birth. The government's reply, try us. Every court that has heard this case, the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and soon the Supreme Court, has sided with the government. Not because the judges hate Harry, because the law is clear. The police are not a private concierge service for millionaires who happen to have royal blood. But here is the detail that should make everyone uncomfortable. In early 2026, a leaked memo revealed that RAVEC, the committee that decides royal security, was internally torn. The police and security chiefs said Harry absolutely needed protection. They cited extant threats from state actors and terrorist organizations. They presented intelligence reports showing that Harry's profile as a military veteran and the son of the monarch made him a high-value target. The civil servants on the same committee agreed with the threat assessment. Then they recommended denying protection anyway. Why? Because the public would be furious. Because the tabloids would run Harry's armed holiday front pages. Because the political backlash would be a nightmare. In other words, the threat is real, but the bad press is worse. Harry says he cannot bring his children to the UK because it's not safe. Archie has spent less than 2 weeks with King Charles since 2022. Lilibet has never had a proper Christmas at Sandringham. The king, who is undergoing cancer treatment, reportedly asks about his grandchildren in every phone call. Harry's answer is always the same: come to California. There is no law stopping Harry from flying commercials, renting a private car, and staying in a hotel with private security guards hired from a reputable firm. He would be safer than 99% of British citizens. The real issue is that Harry wants the status symbol of armed Met officers, the same ones who flank his father and brother. In 2022, Harry attended his grandmother's funeral without full police protection. He was surrounded by private security, moved through crowds, and nothing happened. In 2023, he attended his father's coronation. Again, no Met escort. Again, no incident. The impossible-to-return story collapses under the weight of his actual returns. The couple left the monarchy to escape the firm. They said they wanted privacy, peace, and the freedom to build their own brand. 5 years later, they are still begging the British government for a service that only working royals receive. They are still in the headlines every day. What do you think about Tom Bower's claims about Meghan Markle? Do you think Susanna's defense was genuine, or do you believe there is more to it? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.